is ironic. Did a load of research. I planned a bunch of scripting, the style I wanted to do it in, how I wanted to talk to the camera, the B-roll, the intro, a full, like, you know, good. Well, I thought it was pretty good. And as soon as I go to press record, I freeze, and then I've been putting it off 4 days in a row. The funny part is, the video I scripted and wrote about was called "I'm Wasting My Life on Unmade Decisions." You can see the irony in that. I would say I prefer this angle, but actually it's horrendous. I don't know, So most things are made bigger in our heads than they are in reality. What's the most valuable currency that we have? Realistically, it's time. Time is the most valuable currency that we have. It's the only thing that we can't quite get more of, and it can be taken at any time. You can lose it tomorrow, you can lose it in 20 years, 30, 40, 60. You have no control over it, and yet it's your most valuable thing. And you can influence it, but ultimately time is really important. How we treat our time is then even more important because of that. We live our lives more slowly purely based on how we treat our time, how we treat decisions. Most things are made bigger in our minds than they are in reality. So when we think about a decision or something big coming up in our lives, we tend to put it on a pedestal. We put it really high, and we ultimately mentally make it that much harder to get to achieve, to work on, or even just make a decision on. The problem we run into with this is that we then tend to live our lives slower through decisions that are made further and further apart. As an example given by Alex Hormozy, he said that you can live your life 7 times faster if you're willing to make one big decision a day as opposed to one big decision per week. So if you can confront one big decision a day, then you can effectively live your life, 7 times faster. All right, let me see if I can. So what is this useful for? Why do we put things off? Why do we ruminate? Well, we tend to justify it by our complex ability to think about things. We create lists of pros and cons, we go through that 100 times in our heads, and this is useful. If you're considering where to live, who you want to marry, what you're going to do in the really big picture of life, then yes, it is useful to think about these things. You're going to die one day, and I don't mean that in a scary way, although if it does scare you, that's probably a good thing, because it should, to a degree. The fact that we're going to die gives us a lot of purpose. It actually gives the time that we have meaning, and that is a terrifying gift. The fact that our time is limited and not guaranteed should be rocket fuel for doing the things we want to do. I'll use an example as old as bro YouTube videos, but asking a girl out is pretty non-consequential if she says no. But if she says yes, then, that could be awesome. That could be your future wife. And settling for a life that you don't want because you weren't able to make decisions that would have positively moved you forward is pointless. It's like going to the gym, warming up, and then going home. Pointless. You don't achieve anything. You just think about achieving the thing, don't do it, and then nothing comes of it. I don't mean for this to come across as some sort of bro, get your shit together video, because I don't have my shit together. But the point is that when I reflect on my life and some of the harder decisions I've had to make, I often put them off for a very long time before making them, and I knew the answer, or I knew what I was going to do the whole time, but I didn't commit to it until days, weeks, or months later. I was avoiding a very important decision about my life, what to do for the next chapter. And the reason I say the next chapter is knowing what you're going to do for the rest of your life is a really pointless question. It's like saying, what are you going to eat for dinner in 60 years? Who the knows? No one does. And if they do, they're probably lying to themselves, let's be honest. I'm going on a tangent. The difference between here and here, oh my fuck. All right. This is you. And this is the end result. Whatever you want to achieve, whatever's important. The difference between these 2 points is a series of decisions. Boop, boop. Now, these decisions have to be made. If you want to get here, they have to be made. And they have to be made faster in order to get there sooner. So if you want to get here in 5 years instead of 10 years, you have to make these, 2 times faster. And that's not actually that hard. But let's say you wanted to get from here to here in 1 year instead of 10 years, then you'd have to make them, I mean, pretty easy maths, but you'd have to make these 10 times faster. Now that is hard, but you save 9 years of your life. I mean, you know, it's an idea. Now, obviously this is just an idea, right? If you were to take 10 times longer to make these decisions, then you would live 10 times slower. The point I'm trying to make with this is that time is unbelievably important, and it allows us to enjoy everything we have. I mean, it's literally our experience of reality in life. Now, how do we get over this? How do we close the gap between where you are, where you want to be through making decisions faster? Well, it comes down to a degree of just mental training. And usually it's a case of the thing that scares you is the thing you do. You know, the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. I'm pretty sure I heard that from Alex Hormozy as well. I'm probably going to quote him a few times, but it's very fucking true. All of the magic we're looking for, the life hacks, the shortcuts, yeah, they exist. There is a degree of, you can cut out a lot of rubbish, a lot of bullshit, but you've got to face it head on. And the world really is for those people who are willing to take risks. It's for the people who are willing to just go for things. But putting this into words and not into reality is pretty pointless on my part. So what I want you to consider, give me a sec. All right. So a good example of this is when you're in a group of people and you're about to go and eat dinner or lunch, and everyone is working out where they're going to eat. And you know, one person asks the group, where do you guys want to go? And everyone says, oh, I don't mind, wherever, I'm easy. That's useless. I mean, there's a good intention behind it. You're trying not to be, you know, disagreeable or annoying, or you're just trying to make things easy. But when somebody asks that question, or a group of people ask that question, they're not looking for, well, they're looking for an answer. When people ask that question, they're not looking for a no or an I don't mind. They're looking for direction because they don't want to make it themselves. And that's okay, but that then means that if you're going to give them an answer, it may as well be something, because you probably know roughly what you'd like to eat or what you'd be happy eating. So in this scenario, as an example, you can apply this to anything. When it comes to that decision-making process, this is a very small scale of it, but when you come to that decision-making process, you then just give an answer, just say something, because 9 times out of 10, no one's going to care. Unless somebody's allergic to something, they're not going to care. And this is a really small example, but it's going to train the ability to make decisions faster so that you don't waste so much time ruminating and speculating. And then when it comes to bigger decisions, your brain is already trained to just make those decisions. And you're not sat there thinking like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this thing that's ruminating in my head and taking up all this stress. And this is where the cost is the highest. The decision cost, or the anxiety cost, is when you're trying to make a decision and you can't because you're ruminating on it. Although you will make the decision eventually, all the time between thinking about having to make the decision and actually making it is costing you from enjoying your life in the present moment, because the anxiety is sat there in the back of your head. Let me hold this better. The point I was trying to get at is that you can do whatever you want, but you can't do everything that you want. Get a pen and paper, write down what that thing is, and write down how good tomorrow or next week would be if you just made that decision today.